But in the Bible, someone asked him, what's the greatest laws? And he says, love God, love your neighbor, which were laws from the old Jewish Testament. But then later he says, my one commandment is love one another as I have loved you. And I could go on about this, but I think what Jesus did by, in one point saying, hey, these two commandments, love God, love your neighbor, and then later saying, love God as I have loved you, I believe that in his life, Jesus realized that loving God and loving your neighbor were the same exact thing. And that if you love God, you have to love God in all the ways that him, she, or it shows up in this world, including loving your neighbor. And so to love God is to love your neighbor, and to love your neighbor is to love God. And so when Jesus says, love God or love your neighbor as I have loved you, how did he love us? He saw us and he loved us because he sees and saw God within us. And when Jesus says the golden rule, which is not a commandment, but the golden rule is what we call it, which is love your neighbor as you love yourself. He wants us to love our neighbor and see God in them, and to love ourselves and see God within ourselves the same way. And that's it. And it's beautiful. And I can go on and on about that because I think it's so powerful. I think all of us don't just have a piece of God in us, but we are God. We are God. God exists in us fully and completely. And when you go back to Jesus's message, his core teaching of love, for me, I've realized that that's where his power comes from. That is why we still talk about Jesus 2,000 years later. Isn't because of the miracles. It's not because he was resurrected. It's not because he raised people from the dead. It's not because of any of that folklore. The reason I love Jesus as a teacher, the reason I carry his message is because for me, his power is in his message, not in the miracles, which are most likely folktale. It's in the message to love one another as I have loved you, and to love yourself the same way.